The distress beacon cut through subspace like a scream. Captain Lisa Morgan's hands moved before her mind fully processed the signal. Her fingers flew across the console of the Terran warship Vengeance, plotting an intercept course. The message was brief, automated, and chilling. Colony Station Frontier 7 had gone dark. 200 families, 412 children. All hands to battle stations, Lisa said, her voice steady despite the ice forming in her chest. Spin up the jump drives, we're going in hot. Her first officer, Commander Jake Peters, pulled up the sensor data. His face went pale. Captain, I'm reading Sithari signatures. Multiple warships. They hit the station 30 minutes ago. The Scythari tied it to Scythari, a species that had ignored every diplomatic channel, every peace offering, every warning the Terran Federation had issued. They were raiders, slavers, and they had just made the worst mistake in galactic history. The jump took 17 seconds. 17 seconds of Lisa's mind racing through tactical scenarios, through procedures, through the memory of her own daughter's face. When the Vengeance dropped back into normal space, the scene confirmed her darkest fears. Frontier 7 hung in the void like a broken toy. Hull breaches vented atmosphere in frozen plumes. Zithari ships circled the station like vultures, their cargo bays extending docking tubes. They were boarding. They were taking people. Weapons free, Lisa ordered. Target their engines first. I want prisoners. The Vengeance's railguns spoke with thunder. Tungsten rounds traveling at a fraction of light speed tore through Sithari shields like paper. The first raider ship lost power, tumbling end over end. The second tried to run. It made it 300 meters before a missile removed its entire propulsion section. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the station, the communications officer called out. It's weak, audio only. Put it through. Static filled the bridge, then a voice. Young, terrified, human. This is Danny Carter. I'm 9 years old. They took my mom. They took my sister. Please, please help us. The bridge went silent. Every officer, every crew member heard that voice, heard that child begging for salvation. Lisa saw her weapons officer's hands tremble on his console, saw her navigator bite her lip hard enough to draw blood. All ships, Lisa transmitted on the fleet-wide channel. This is Captain Morgan. Frontier 7 has been attacked. Human children are in danger. I'm invoking Protocol Shepard. Protocol Shepard. 2 words that made alien species tremble. 2 words that had ended 3 wars before they could truly begin. It was humanity's line in the sand, written in the blood of those who had crossed it before. Harm human children, and humanity would bring the full weight of its military might down upon you. No mercy, no quarter, no surrender. Within minutes, the response came, not just from the Terran fleets, but from human colonies across a dozen sectors. Military vessels changed course. Civilian ships armed themselves. Defense stations went to maximum alert. Humanity was mobilizing, and the galaxy would remember why they should never have been provoked. Lisa watched as more Terran ships began dropping out of jump space. The destroyer Righteous Fury, the carrier Battleborn, the assault ship Wrath Incarnate. Within 20 minutes, 37 human warships surrounded the crippled station. Captain, the Sithari flagship is hailing us, communications reported. On screen, a reptilian face appeared, scales the color of dried blood, eyes like yellow coins. The Scythari commander opened his mouth to speak, but Lisa cut him off. You have 60 seconds to release every human on that station, she said. After that, I start turning your ships into debris fields. After that, I don't stop until every Scythari world is ash. The aliens' throat sacs inflated, a sign of aggression. You threaten us? We are Scythari. We do not fear your code. Lisa cut the transmission. Fire. The Vengeance's main cannon charged, a weapon designed to crack open battleships. It fired once, and a Scythari cruiser simply ceased to exist. Where there had been a ship, there was now an expanding cloud of superheated plasma and metal fragments. The hail came again immediately. The Scythari commander's face had changed. Fear. Finally, they understood. "We will release." "Too late," Lisa said. "You had your chance. Now you have a choice. Open your ships and let my Marines board, or die where you float. You have 10 seconds." She didn't wait for an answer. Marine assault pods launched from the Vengeance and every ship in the fleet. They crossed the distance in seconds, magnetic clamps slamming onto Zathari hulls. Breaching charges detonated. Human Marines poured into the enemy vessels. Weapons raised, rage in their eyes. The battle was short and brutal. The Scythery fought, but they had never faced humans protecting their young. Every Marine who breached those ships had seen the transmission, had heard Danny Carter's voice, had imagined their own children in that darkness, alone and afraid. Within 30 minutes, it was over. The Scythari ships were secured. The station was being evacuated. Medical teams rushed through the corridors finding survivors, treating the wounded, and in a storage bay on the station's lower level, they found the children. 47 of them, huddled together in the dark, waiting for rescue that they had prayed would come. Danny Carter was among them. When the Marines opened the door, he looked up with eyes too old for a 9-year-old boy. Then he saw the human uniforms, saw the Terran flags on their shoulders, and he started to cry. Not from fear anymore, but from relief. Lisa Morgan stood in the Vengeance's command center, watching the rescue operations on her screens. Her executive officer approached quietly. "Captain, we're receiving reports from across the sector," Jake said. "The Terran Navy is moving. Every available ship. The Senate has authorized full military mobilization. They're going after the Scythari homeworld?" Lisa nodded slowly. She had expected nothing less. Humanity had been tested, and humanity would respond. The Scythari had wanted to know if humans were as dangerous as the rumors suggested. They were about to learn the answer, and it would be written in fire across their skies. "Send a message to the fleet," Lisa said. "Tell them we're coming. Tell them what happened here. Tell them that 47 children almost died because the Scythari thought they could raid our colonies without consequence." She paused, her eyes hard. "Tell them it's time the galaxy remembered why you don't threaten humanity's children." The message went out across every channel, every frequency. Within hours, it reached the Scythari homeworld. Within days, the Terran fleets would follow. The war had begun, and it would end only one way. Admiral Patricia Hayes stood in the war room beneath Geneva, surrounded by holographic displays showing Terran fleet positions across known space. 50 years she had served. 50 years of keeping the peace, of showing restraint, of proving humanity could be civilized. All of that ended the moment she saw the footage from Frontier 7. "Status report," she demanded. General Marcus Knight stepped forward, his weathered face grim. "All 12 battle fleets are mobilized and en route to Scythari space. The 4th and 7th will arrive first in approximately 6 hours. The remainder will be in position within 36 hours.
He paused. "Admiral, we're talking about 400 warships."
The largest military action since the Kashari conflict. Patricia nodded, her eyes scanning the tactical displays. The Scythari held 17 worlds, 42 outposts, and controlled 3 major trade routes. By the end of the week, they would hold nothing. "What about their defensive capabilities?" she asked. "Substantial but outdated," responded Colonel Amy Foster, the intelligence liaison. "Their fleet consists mainly of raiding vessels, fast, lightly armed, minimal armor. They've never faced a coordinated assault from a major power. Their home defense fleet has maybe 80 ships, and none of them match our destroyers in firepower. They relied on speed and surprise," Patricia said quietly. "Hit civilian targets, take what they want, disappear before military response arrives. It worked against the smaller species. They thought it would work against us." "They thought wrong," Marcus said, and there was something cold in his voice that Patricia had rarely heard. She looked at the assembled officers. Every one of them had seen the transmission. Danny Carter's voice had reached Earth, had been broadcast on every news feed, every social network. Humanity knew what had happened. They knew children had been taken, terrorized, nearly killed. And humanity was angry. "Rules of engagement?" Marcus asked. Patricia considered. In any other conflict, she would have issued standard protocols. Minimize civilian casualties. Accept surrender. Show mercy to those who laid down arms. But this was different. The Sithari had crossed a line that civilized species knew never to approach. "We offer one chance," she said finally. "One opportunity for the Sithari government to surrender unconditionally, turn over everyone involved in the Frontier 7 attack, and submit to Terran authority. If they refuse," she looked around the room, "if they refuse, we demonstrate why humanity does not tolerate threats to our children. We show them what happens when you make us choose between mercy and protecting our young." The room understood. Mercy would lose Bill. "Send the ultimatum through every diplomatic channel," Patricia ordered. "They have 12 hours to respond. After that, the Fourth Fleet has authorization to begin operations." As the officers dispersed to carry out their orders, Patricia remained alone with the holographic displays. She pulled up footage from Frontier 7, watched Marines carrying children out of the darkness, watched parents reunited with their sons and daughters, watched a 9-year-old boy named Danny Carter cry in his father's arms. She had grandchildren, 3 of them. The thought of someone taking them, terrorizing them, made her hands shake with rage she rarely allowed herself to feel. She was a military officer. She was supposed to be calm, rational, strategic, but she was also human, and humans protected their young with a ferocity that transcended logic. Her communications officer appeared on the screen. "Admiral, we're receiving a response from the Sithari High Council. Already? Put it through." The face that appeared was different from the Commander Lisa Morgan had faced. This was one of the Sithari ruling caste, scales polished to a deep crimson, ceremonial piercings marking status and rank. When he spoke, his translator rendered the words in cold, precise English. "I am High Counselor Vexroth. You dare threaten the Sithari Dominion? We are an ancient and powerful—" "I don't care," Patricia interrupted. "Your people attacked a civilian station. They terrorized children. You have 12 hours to surrender unconditionally or face total military destruction. Those are your options." Vexroth's throat sacs inflated with rage. "You speak of children? They are simply small humans. Resources. Assets to be claimed. This is how the strong survive in the galaxy." Patricia felt something go cold inside her. They didn't understand. After thousands of years of evolution, after spreading across the stars, they still didn't understand the most basic rule of human nature. "We're done talking," she said. "You have your ultimatum. I suggest you spend the next 12 hours evacuating your worlds because after that, the Terran Navy is coming, and we won't stop until your government is in chains or your species is extinct."
She cut the transmission before he could respond.
Her hands were steady now. The rage had crystallized into something harder, colder purpose. "All fleets," she transmitted. "Ultimatum delivered and rejected. Begin countdown to Operation Shepherd's Wrath. In 12 hours, we show the galaxy what happens when you harm human children. Across human space, warships prepared." Crews ran through final checks, weapons were loaded, jump drives were calibrated. Pilots climbed into fighters. Marines inspected their armor and weapons. Everyone knew what was coming. Everyone knew why. On Earth, families gathered around screens watching the news feeds. Images of Frontier 7 played on repeat. Danny Carter's voice echoed through billions of homes. And across humanity, from the oldest colonies to the newest outposts, the same thought repeated, never again. The Sithari had made their choice. Now they would learn what that choice cost. Captain Derek Walsh commanded the destroyer Hammer of Justice, part of the Fourth Fleet's vanguard. As his ship dropped out of jump space at the edge of Sithari Prime System, he saw the enemy defense fleet waiting. 83 contacts on sensors. They had mobilized everything they had. It wouldn't be enough. "All ships, assume attack formation," came Admiral Chen's voice over the fleet channel. Admiral Richard Chen commanded the Fourth Fleet from the dreadnought Unbreakable, and he had a reputation for aggressive tactics. Today, that reputation would be useful. Derek watched his tactical display as the Terran fleet spread out, a textbook encirclement maneuver. 46 warships moving with precision, cutting off escape routes, establishing firing solutions. The Scytheri fleet tried to respond, tried to organize a defense, but they were raiders, not fleet combatants. They didn't know how to fight a real navy. "Weapons range in 30 seconds, his tactical officer reported. "All batteries stand ready," Derek ordered. "Target their command ships first. I want their coordination disrupted." The first shots came from the Scytheri, plasma bolts and missile spreads that splashed harmlessly against Terran shields. They were testing defenses, probing for weaknesses. They found none. "Return fire," Admiral Chen commanded. The Terran fleet spoke with one voice. Railguns, particle beams, missiles, torpedoes. The void lit up with weapons fire. Scythari shields collapsed under the onslaught. Ships broke apart, venting atmosphere and crew into the cold of space. Within 90 seconds, the Scythari had lost a third of their fleet. "They're breaking formation," Derek's sensor operator called out. "Multiple ships attempting to retreat."
"Negative," Admiral Chen responded.
"No one leaves this system. Hunt them down." The Terran ships pursued, faster and more maneuverable than their prey. Destroyers ran down fleeing cruisers. Fighters swarmed larger vessels, missiles streaking from their bays. The Scythari fought with desperation, but desperation wasn't enough against humanity's fury. Derek's ship caught a Scythari destroyer trying to reach the jump limit. The Hammer of Justice's railguns fired in sequence, each round striking with devastating precision. The enemy ship's engines exploded, and it went tumbling through space, lifeless. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission," his communications officer said. "It's from that vessel. They're requesting mercy." Derek thought about Frontier 7, thought about children huddled in the dark, thought about Danny Carter's voice. "Denied," he said. "Finish them." The final shot removed what remained of the Scythari destroyer. No escape pods launched. No survivors. Within 6 hours, the battle was over. The Scythari home defense fleet was destroyed. Not defeated. Not scattered. Destroyed. 83 ships reduced to debris fields and radiation. The Terran fleet had lost nothing more than some shield generators and minor hull plating.
"Commence planetary assault," Admiral Chen ordered.
"Marines, you are authorized for landing operations. Rules of engagement are in effect. Military targets only, but anyone who resists is a combatant. Assault ships descended through Scythari Prime's atmosphere, anti-aircraft fire rising to meet them. The Scythari ground forces tried to defend their world, but they were facing human Marines who had seen the footage from Frontier 7. Every Marine who set foot on that planet remembered why they were there. Lieutenant Sarah Brooks led her platoon through the capital city's outskirts. Scythari soldiers fired from defensive positions, but human armor could take punishment that would kill unprotected troops. Sarah's squad moved with textbook precision, suppressing enemy fire, advancing through cover, calling in artillery strikes on hardened positions. They reached a government complex where intelligence suggested High Counselor Vexroth was coordinating the defense. The doors were reinforced, designed to withstand orbital bombardment. Sarah called in a breaching team. "Bring the whole wall down," she ordered. Shaped charges detonated in sequence, and the entire facade of the building collapsed inward. Marines poured through the gap, weapons raised. Scythari guards fired back, but they were outmatched. Within minutes, the complex was secured. They found Vexroth in a command center 3 levels down, surrounded by his senior officials. When the Marines breached the door, he looked up with those yellow eyes, and for the first time, Sarah saw real fear in an alien face. "High Counselor Vexroth," she said, her weapon trained on his chest. "You're under arrest for crimes against humanity, specifically the attack on Frontier 7 and the attempted abduction of human children." Vexroth's throat sacs inflated one last time. "You cannot do this. We are a sovereign. You lost that sovereignty when you took our children," Sarah interrupted. "Now you're going to face justice, human justice." They dragged him out in restraints along with his entire council. Outside, the city was burning. Not from human weapons, but from Scythari resistance that had backfired, from infrastructure damaged in the fighting. The Terran forces weren't trying to destroy the city. They didn't need to. The Scythari were doing it themselves, fighting a battle they couldn't win. By the end of the day, Scythery Prime was under Terran control. By the end of the week, all 17 Nithari worlds had surrendered. The war was over. The Scythari Dominion was finished. Admiral Patricia Hayes watched the final reports come in from her command center on Earth. Total Terran casualties, 43 dead, 106 wounded. Scythery casualties estimated at 50,000 military unknown civilian. 17 worlds occupied. Scythari government in custody, their military destroyed, their species facing an uncertain future under human oversight. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt like obligation, like a parent disciplining a child who had done something dangerous. Humanity hadn't wanted this war. They had tried diplomacy, had offered peace, had shown restraint for decades. The Scythari had forced their hand. Her aide approached. Admiral, the Senate is convening to decide the ex-Scythari's fate. They want your input on sentencing recommendations for the High Council. Patricia thought for a long moment. Justice demanded punishment. The families of Frontier 7 demanded revenge. But humanity also prided itself on being better than those who wronged them. The leaders who ordered the attack will face trial, she said finally. Life imprisonment, no possibility of release. The Scythari worlds will be placed under Terran protectorate status for no less than 50 years. They will learn what it means to be civilized. They will learn to respect sapient life, especially the young. And if they resist the occupation, Patricia's expression hardened. Then they will learn what happened to their fleet can happen to their cities. We gave them a chance. They took our children. They're fortunate we're letting them survive at all. The message went out to the occupied worlds. The Scythari people, broken and defeated, had no choice but to accept. Their warriors were dead. Their ships destroyed. Their government captured. Humanity had proven that some lines should never be crossed. Danny Carter stood with his father on the observation deck of a transport ship, watching Frontier 7 pass by in the distance. Repair crews swarmed the station, already rebuilding what the Scythari had destroyed. In a few months, it would be home again, safe again. "Dad," Danny said quietly, "are the bad aliens gone?" His father knelt down, putting his hands on Danny's shoulders. "Yes, son, they're gone. The Navy made sure of it. Did they hurt them? The aliens?" His father hesitated. How do you explain war to a 9-year-old? How do you explain that sometimes violence is necessary to protect the innocent? "The Navy protected us," he said finally. "They made sure the Scythari can never hurt another child. That's what families do. They protect each other." Danny nodded slowly, processing this. Then he looked up at his father. "When I grow up, I want to join the Navy. I want to protect people, too." His father hugged him tight. "You've got plenty of time to decide that. For now, just be a kid. That's all you need to do." But across human space, thousands of other children were having similar conversations. They had seen what happened when someone threatened humanity's young. They had seen the response, and they understood, even at their age, that they were part of something larger, a species that would cross the galaxy to save them, that would fight wars to keep them safe, that would never, ever abandon them to darkness. The Scythari had learned this lesson too late, but the rest of the galaxy learned it just in time. The news of the war spread across every trade route, every diplomatic channel, every species communication network. The story of how humanity mobilized 400 warships and conquered 17 worlds in less than a week, all because 47 children had been threatened. Other species looked at their own young with new understanding, looked at human traders and diplomats with new respect. Humanity had always been friendly, reasonable, willing to negotiate. But now the galaxy knew the truth. Humans were friendly until you threatened their children. After that, they became something else entirely, something ancient and primal and absolutely unstoppable. A new rule emerged in galactic politics, unwritten but universally understood. You can negotiate with humans. You can trade with them. You can't even fight them over resources or territory, and they'll treat you fairly according to the rules of war. But you never, ever threaten their children. Because if you do, you're not facing the Terran Federation anymore. You're facing something far older and far more dangerous. You're facing humanity's evolutionary imperative. The drive that let them survive ice ages and predators and plagues. The drive that made them the dominant species on their world and would make them dominant in the galaxy if pushed. The Sithari learned this. Their species would spend generations recovering, rebuilding under human oversight, learning to live by civilized rules. Some of them would resent it. Some would adapt. All of them would remember. And across the galaxy, in 1,000 different languages and 1,000,000 different ways, the same story was told. The story of the Sithari who made the mistake of harming human children. The story of how humanity responded with overwhelming force and unwavering determination. The story that ended with one simple lesson. Don't threaten humanity's young, because if you do, you're not just fighting a nation or an empire, you're fighting every human who ever loved a child. Every parent, every sibling, every person who remembers being young and vulnerable. You're fighting the full weight of human history, human evolution, human nature, and that's a fight no one can win. The war ended, but its lessons echoed through the centuries that followed. The Sithari became a cautionary tale. A reminder that in a galaxy full of diverse species and competing interests, some rules transcend politics. Some instincts transcend reason. Humanity continued exploring, continued trading, continued building their place among the stars. They remained friendly, diplomatic, reasonable, but everyone remembered. Everyone knew. And when human ships passed through alien space, when human families settled on distant worlds, when human children played in stations and colonies across the galaxy, they did so under an invisible protection. The protection of a species that had proven, beyond any doubt, exactly what would happen if that protection was tested. The Sithari had asked a question with their attack on Frontier 7. They had asked, what will humans do if we harm their children? Humanity had answered, we will end you, and the galaxy had listened.